So I saw this IGN video, Dragon Age the Veilguard exclusive first hands-on preview, come out, and once I heard about this, once I saw that this came out, I actually went to the Dragon Age the Veilguard channel, and I saw that there was this Dragon Age the Veilguard high-level combat parts 1 through 4, and I just kind of clicked through a little, and I saw that there was like combat stuff that we can look at, and so I think I'm gonna just I'm gonna look at this. I'm gonna watch this real quick. We're gonna react to this real quick, and then we'll watch the IGN stuff afterwards. I think after that, I'm probably not gonna watch any more of Dragon Age the Veilguard stuff at all, because unlike some people, I prefer not to know everything about the game that I'm going to be playing. You know, I prefer not to know everything about a game that hasn't released yet. Let's just watch this. I think this is just some gameplay. I might like skip, I might skip around a little. This is an introduction to high-level combat. Footage has been edited for brevity and to avoid major spoilers. Good. Okay, first off, immediately, I don't know if I'm a fan of the colors. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't really been a fan of the whole like purple coloring for this game. Honestly, it just kind of, it's not really my style. Champion branch, okay. Utilizing heavy passive abilities like heavy armor mastery will help boost defense. Okay. I see. I'm starting to see what they're going for. They're going for the Diablo or Path of Exiles type stuff, where they just have very few like abilities or like you know, like active abilities that you can activate, but they have like a bunch of skill trees and stuff, so you can kind of make builds. But honestly, I prefer having a bunch of abilities that I can use whenever I want to, rather than having, you know, a bunch of like skill trees and stuff. But again, it's just a different thing. Ooh, this is interesting, actually. We have weapon slot, helmet, armor, offhand, I guess, and then main weapon. 4 accessory slots. And then we have, I guess, like runes, and I think that's it. Personally, honestly, I would actually prefer if there was like, you know, a pants slot or boots slot, right? And you know, very much like Baldur's Gate, you know, or the more like typical RPG stuff. But okay, whatever. Yikes, imagine choosing 2 male companions. Yikes, bro. What am I, gay? Okay, here we go. Yeah, I can already tell, like I'm okay, I can kind of understand they're trying to like explain shit on the left here. They're trying to explain shit on the left, but I'm not gonna lie, either they're purposefully taking their time or this is being played with a controller. Oh yeah, this is 100% being played with a controller. It's not even a question. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look at how bad the combat looks when you're playing with a controller. Like the camera is not moving. Like, man, I'm telling you, I feel like this combat would look so much better if the person was playing with a keyboard and controlling the camera with a mouse. Like you have so much, you have such bad like camera angles with a controller. Okay. Okay. I'm starting to like understand the warrior's like kind of skill set, I guess. They're spending way too much time on this fucking this shit. Okay, yeah, I'm kind of. So one thing I'm not really enjoying here is that this is supposed to be warrior gameplay. Where are the taunts? Where's the aggro? And I get, you know, not everything's about the holy trinity of tank, DPS, and healer, but I feel like when you have classes, what's the point of different classes when everything ends up being DPS? I feel like it's just kind of boring that way. But okay, I mean, okay, so there seems to be a parry for the warrior. Well, that's not bad so far. I'm actually kind of liking the warrior gameplay style. Okay, blah blah blah. We don't really care about this. Let's just move on. I want to see the melee fighting. Honestly, I mean, normally, in games like this, I would almost always play like a ranger or some sort of like rogue. But honestly, I think from what we've seen, from what little we've seen so far, I think the warrior is just much better. It looks much better than what we saw with the rogue, in my opinion, anyway. The one thing I will say though, when they're choosing the abilities, I kind of wish it didn't like stop time completely. It should just slow it down, like to a crawl, but it should still be moving slightly. But it's just that, I mean, that's just something you can get used to, I guess. It's fine. And obviously, whoever is playing this, they're like choosing these abilities way too slowly and shit, you know? Like, why is he doing that? Like, in this situation, why is he doing this? These are your abilities, right? These are the player's abilities right here, right? Why are you slowing down the game? I mean, again, maybe they're just trying to, like, you know, explain the thing here. That's why, right? But, like, I'm pretty sure you can use your abilities without stopping time. Because if you can't, that's fucked. Then the game is going to be horrible. I'm pretty sure you can. I mean, so far, it's a little bit hard to say. I feel like I'm already kind of getting the exact same or exact feeling that I thought I would get from this game, from the combat. Like, it's going to be cool at first, right? But then after like 10 hours of fighting, your combos just get boring, right? Like, you're just going to be fighting the exact same way. You're going to be using most of the exact same abilities, unless there's going to be a massive amount of abilities that you can kind of like, I don't know, improve on. But if you're, again, right, if you're going for a specific build, you're probably going to be building, you know, your skills and stats around certain abilities, like the grapple, for instance, right? That's a very good ability. And if your entire build is around this, you're going to be using this thing all the time. throughout the entire game. That's probably like 40 to 60 hours. Command Darwin to taunt. I know it's Darwin to taunt to gather nearby enemies. Isn't that guy a rogue or something? Or actually, no, he's probably a sword and shield guy as well. The main problem with this combat right now is that, or with this video, is that whoever's playing just keeps doing the pause thing way too often. It's almost like they're like a complete beginner playing this game. Like, if you want to showcase the combat, you have to, like, you have to show the fluidity and the fact that it feels good. Like, sure, okay, you wanna do this freeze thing. You wanna indicate to your companion that you want them to do the freeze thing. Okay, sure. You can stop time, tell them to use it, and then immediately just let go of the time stop, and then continue. The companion freezes the enemies, and then you activate your ability to like shatter or something like that without freezing time, right? You have to like make it look good. I get that they're trying to explain these things, but like, Jesus. I mean, from what I can tell here, the warrior definitely looks better than the rogue. It definitely feels like there's more weight to the attacks. And it's not just like slash, 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 right? Okay, what the fuck was that? Oh yeah, there was like an ultimate ability or something. Okay. Why does he keep rolling all the time? Right? Like, bro, you have a shield. Stagger him. Or parry him, or whatever, right? I'm pretty sure he has, like, a shield thing. You can just block with the shield. Yeah. It's definitely kind of hard to... How do I say this? It's hard to tell how good this feels without playing it myself. I mean, that's about it, right? I will say, if this is supposed to be, like, high-level combat, it's definitely disappointing. We saw about, like, I want to say, like, 5 minutes of gameplay. Like, if you asked me what level or what, like, where this character is in terms of the entire game, like, you know, at what point in the game is this character, I would say 20% of the way through, or maybe like 40% of the way through, maybe even 50%. Definitely not high level or end game. When I say end game, I mean like towards the end of the game, not actual like end game. This definitely doesn't look like high level gameplay, right? It definitely doesn't. But again, I mean, it's hard to say. Regardless, let's watch this Dragon Age the Veilguard exclusive first hands-on preview from IGN, shall we?
10 long years since Dragon Age Inquisition, and the expectations for the next game in the series, Dragon Age the Veilguard, seem impossible. A full decade, a bevy of behind-the-scenes changes, and an interesting start to its marketing campaign made me a little worried for my most...
Bro. This is the protagonist, right? Right? Dude, if you can... Oh my god. This is... I mean... That's good. That's good.
So an interesting start to its marketing.
That's good. If this is what, you know, the person who was playing and created this character, right? If they manage to make this in the character creation, bruh, They have long hairstyles. Oh my fucking god. And it looks good in the cutscene.
Interesting start to its marketing campaign.
Flowy hair and shit. Holy fuck, bro. Holy fuck.
A little worried for my most highly anticipated game of the year.
What the hell is that?
What you've been through would break most people.
But one of my biggest...
What the fuck is that? What the fuck is this? I think they kind of forgot what Kunari looked like.
Break most people.
But one of my biggest concerns, based on early previews, was that it could be headed in the direction of being a linear action game, rather than its more open-world predecessor. While Dragon Age is known for changing its style with each installment, I hoped dearly that it wouldn't lose too much of the DA.
Dude, I'm loving the long hairstyles, bro. It seems like whoever was playing, or whoever, you know, yeah, whoever was playing this game or testing it out, they were like, bro, fun, I got you, bro. I got you. Long hairstyles for your character? There you go. Thank you.
Installment,
and it looks like it's a good flowy hair. They have hair physics. Oh,
dearly
yes.
That it wouldn't lose too much of the DA DNA
yes.
I fell in love with. After hours of hands-on time spread across 2 days, I'm pleased to say that I walked away with excitement and curiosity, but mostly relief to wave many of those concerns goodbye.
I'm glad to see. I'm so glad to see that the character creator allows for good, attractive characters. Holy shit! Am I glad? I'm so glad for this, because like one of the things that I was really worried about was that you can't really make attractive characters. I mean, I wasn't super worried, but like the fact that we saw like the, you know, in the I mean, I guess they used the default character preset, right? Like the character that we saw, the player character that we saw in the gameplay reveal and whatnot, right? It just didn't look good. And so seeing this like female character that's kind of hot, right? Blue hair.
My time with the Veilguard covered a wide smattering of things, including the incredibly expansive character creator, the introductory quests, a faction mission, and a companion quest a little deeper into the game. But I was mostly pleased with my ability to just explore Northern Thedas and all its gorgeously designed glory, experiencing a setting in Dragon Age lore that we've really only heard about. To be clear,
look at that. It looks so good. The hair physics, I mean, look at how the hair just flows, bro.
Designed glory. Experiencing a setting in
this
Dragon
is what
Age
I'm talking
lore
about.
That we've really only heard about. To
it's
be clear,
so good.
The Veilguard isn't the open world playground.
Hair physics are so good.
As game director Corinne Bush has previously stated, it's more mission based. But what impressed me after the first few hours was how much exploration can still be done in the various regions, as well as the impact the player character, Rook, can have on those regions.
And there we go. Easy. Wow, isn't that something?
Consider it something of a mix of Dragon Age 2 and Inquisition, the more streamlined approach of the former with the geographically and socio-politically diverse world of the latter. Of course, some of the bigger art style, combat, and gameplay changes will be subject to personal taste. But after my time with the Veilguard, I left feeling like these 10 long years just might have been worth the wait.
Yeah, like, I actually kind of agree with what she was saying, because to me, Dragon Age has never really been like a franchise that always sticks to its samey type of like art style and combat style, right? I mean, think about Dragon Age Origins, right? And then the jump to Dragon Age 2. It was massive. It was completely different. A lot of people didn't like it, sure. But like, for me, when I go into a sequel game, I don't expect more of the same. I expect a sequel game. A game that takes place further down the timeline. Potentially, you know, continuing some sort of overarching story. If they decide to change the graphics and or gameplay, as long as it kind of has the same, like, as long as it's similar enough, where the core gameplay is the same, I don't really care if they change things. That's why whenever I finished Dragon Age Origins and I went into Dragon Age 2, I didn't care. Like it was weird, it was different, but I got used to it pretty quickly and I started enjoying it. Same thing happened with Inquisition, right? And probably the same thing is going to happen with this game.
As fans have already seen from the first gameplay trailer, players are dropped right into the city of MrFonrath in the middle of the action as Solas prepares a ritual that will devastate Thedas. Luckily, our old friend Varric has recruited you to help, and it barely takes a couple of minutes for the game to put the focus on Rook.
This character looks so good.
After a surprisingly concise story recap from Varric, there are a number of aspects the Veilguard starts easing you into. For one, the combat. Gone are the days of Dragon Age Origins' more CRPG-inspired tactical system, offering a style that's a mix of quick action and a mechanic where you can pause and pull up your radial menu. While this absolutely does take some getting used to, and it'll be a gradual process to create what could be a highly customized build while learning all your companions' different abilities, it didn't take me long to actually start having fun with it. I largely played mage and rogue builds during my hands-on time, and also quickly started to lean on certain companions' abilities. For one, the mage healing ability was essential. For one particularly difficult remnant, I basically established a pattern where I was only using Balara's mana to heal me, dodging and playing it safe when it got too risky. Nev's ability to slow time was also one I kept returning to, offering a bit more control on the battlefield when the situation got a little too fast-paced. And for you glass cannon builds out there, you'll want to have a warrior around to taunt your enemies out of your way.
No problem.
Like a whole lot in the Veilguard, combat revolves.
One of the things I want to say real quick is that you look at some of this combat, right? And it's not that the camera is like locked on or anything. Like the camera doesn't lock on, your character does. So whenever the camera is a little awkward, where it's kind of like very zoomed into the character's back and the camera angle is like very weird, it's not because of the game, it's because of the player. Because the player is playing with a controller and they're not used to moving their character and doing things and moving the camera properly at the same time. That's why these games should be made for keyboard and mouse. And should be played with a keyboard and mouse, because it's just easier and more comfortable that way.
Revolves around your companions, even though you can't fully take control of them like in previous Dragon Age games. Different companions have different combo options together, and there are certainly opportunities to build team synergy. Oh, and you'll want to listen to your companions in combat too, as they'll occasionally drop some useful hints. But combat aside, your dialogue choices, your Rook's background, and the frequent decisions you make are immediately important, which shouldn't be too surprising for fans of BioWare games. The dialogue wheel is back, of course, as is the approval-disapproval system.
We haven't got a lot of time. Varric said you had a lead on Solas?
You get right to the point.
But I was surprised to see that the Veilguard actually explains the consequences of some of your dialogue choices in very clear terms.
See, you say that.
It's a variation of the so-and-so will remember that system, but more specific.
But we do have Nev's location now, so...
Take, for example, my first confrontation with Solas, aka Fen'Harel, aka the Dreadwolf. I chose a more sarcastic, humorous approach with him, and at the end of our confrontation, text on the side of the screen informed me that I have traded verbal jabs with Solas.
This is your responsibility now.
It was far from the...
So, real quick, I want to mention something. One of the things I'm really hoping is that modding in this game is going to be easy, hopefully. Probably not. But I'm hoping that people are going to be modding this game and being able to mod this game. Because I'm not gonna lie, if this shit shows up on my fucking screen, that's gonna be cringe. I don't understand. Like, okay. I'm hoping to God that this white box is added in post to this video, not that this is actually in the game.
It is your responsibility now.
It was far from the only occurrence of this sort of text, and it leaves me curious as to how your relationships with various characters will build and branch out over time based on your attitude. Speaking of consequences, it quickly became clear to me that out over time with various characters will build and branch out over
so I think that was just added in post, because usually it's like this, right?
Will build and branch out over time based on your attitude. Speaking of consequences, it quickly became clear to me that there would consistently be tons of choices in the Veilguard that'll have lasting results. It probably sounds like I'm stating the obvious here, but I got the sense that even more of these kinds of choices might be peppered throughout than the usual BioWare game. Right at the beginning, for instance, I made a choice that led to Harding getting injured, and she was still bruised up for the remainder of the next couple hours. I felt like a real jerk about it, and that was probably the point. Dragon Age the Veilguard seemed to be telling me right from the start that I'm going to feel like a jerk a lot.
You don't slow down for much, do you?
Without spoiling too much, you'll also be able to see some of your progression and choices in the environment around you as well. But once introductions were out of the way, it was time to explore the wide world of Thedas and see its past and present collide.
Shall we?
Let's do this.
Ooh.
As mentioned earlier,
I could mention something, but I basically just remembered another thing that I wanted to add to my wish list. A very important thing, but I suppose there's no point in mentioning this now.
one of my biggest worries was that the Veilguard could end up being more linear in its approach, trading branching gameplay for a straight line. And sure, the opening hours, essentially the tutorial zone, are a little railroady, save for a couple key decisions you have to make. But once you're past that and more established within Act 1, you're much more free to tackle quests as you please as you unlock more and more regions. You do this via the Crossroads. For those of you who aren't brushed up on your Dragon Age lore, that's a nexus between the waking world of Thedas and the metaphysical realm of the Fade, through which the ancient elves would travel through magical mirrors called Alluvians. You now use the Alluvians for that same purpose, and to unlock new regions, you have to fight through certain areas of the Crossroads before you can start fast traveling to them.
Interesting.
Unlocking said regions opens up a vast network of areas, and not unlike past Dragon Age games, they're dramatically different from one another.
As the gods' champion passed freely, so will you.
Take, for example, the Arlethan Forest, a gorgeous, colorful region that mixes greenery with elven magic. You can see nugs burrow into the grass, magical artifacts abound, and there's a vast array of nature to simply admire. You're hit with a massive tone shift, however, when you head to Hossberg.
Lavendel Village. Whatever happened here looks like Demeter's Crossing.
Currently under siege by the Blight, here is where you'll see some of the more horror-inspired aesthetics, and frankly, just some of the grosser aspects of the Blight. While the Veilguard's tone certainly leans more high fantasy in places like the Crossroads,
Yeah, the camera
don't
movement
worry.
is really
Those
bad
who
because
miss the gore and dark fantasy
person
origins
playing
will find that
is not
too in
adjusting the
places where
camera
Blight has
properly.
spread. But I couldn't help but spend a lot of my time just running around in Treviso, the bustling city that's home to the Antivan Crows faction. For one thing, a lively city feels like a novelty in Dragon Age. But there was simply so much to explore that I kept getting sidetracked. A merchant with unique items here, a new quest to pick up over there, and a random combat encounter over there. And that's just when I wasn't looking around for a cat or dog to pet. Because yes, you can pet the cats and dogs.
Classic.
Outside of the cats and dogs,
I feel like
there are some
you know,
unique ways
it's
to
just
interact with the environment.
a requirement
Each
at this point
companion
in
has
these
an
games, you
environmental
know.
ability, some of which came in quite handy for me. In my time in the Arlethan Forest, I frequently called upon Balara, whose environmental ability allows her to tinker with magical artifacts. In a nice quality of life feature, your companions don't even need to be in your party in order for you to use these abilities. As an aside, another one of my favorite quality of life additions is the fact that party banter pauses and picks up again later if you trigger combat, a cutscene, or anything else that would interrupt their dialogue. That's right,
Good.
no
That's good.
more awkward standing around in order to hear the complete conversation.
Oh, yes.
If you're feeling overwhelmed, the difficulty and accessibility options do allow for about just as much or as little hand-holding as you need. For example, with one Antivan Crows quest I was doing, I could turn the navigation on and simply follow the game's guidance, or turn it off and look for clues in the environment to follow. In this case, the crow's purple symbol painted on certain walls.
Another mark this way.
I also just happened to be playing an Antivan Crow Rook while completing this quest, which led to some fun dialogue options.
We Crows are all the army Antiva has, but it's not like we can field a garrison.
Once I was in the thick of things, I could clearly see the features in the Veilguard that boiled down to, okay, we heard the complaints about Inquisition, specifically addressing the infamous Hinterlands problem, which is a reference to the first open-world area players visit in Inquisition. The zone was packed with more than 50 side quests, many of which boiled down to mere fetch quests, and it left many players drowning in a bevy of checklists
that was
felt
pretty cool.
inconsequential to the story. The Veilguard has boiled this down quite a lot. You're still free to explore, but the scope isn't nearly as dizzying, and the quests point back to the main story, a region or faction, or a companion. Another clear reaction to criticisms of Inquisition are our villains in the Veilguard, Algernon and Gillenane. The two elven gods feel much more present throughout the events of the early game than Corypheus, the frankly lackluster baddie of Inquisition.
Whatever comes, we're ready for a fight.
Words easily said, but rarely proven.
While there's a whole lot more Thedas to see and talk about, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring it back home to the lighthouse.
Ah, there we
The lighthouse
go.
will likely be the most important
campsite.
location of the Veilguard, serving as the hub for you and your companions.
Yeah, the hub.
Each one of your companions has their own room, and conveniently, a light shines outside of their door when they have a cutscene available. Once you get further into Act 1, it's certainly...
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought they would do. Unfortunately, they're not doing the campsite. I kind of hoped that they would do a more, like, personal touch with the hub area, where you kind of have all the companions in the same area, where they can kind of, like, interact with each other more anyway. Or at least it would feel like that. But yeah, like, if everyone has their own room, it's kind of like,
starts to feel more lived in, and you can discover some pretty charming character quirks. For example, I found that Emmerich's skeletal assistant Manfred enjoys spending time on the balcony, and we even got a few games of rock, paper, scissors in. The lighthouse is also, obviously, where you're able to do some housekeeping, especially when it comes to the caretaker.
Offer, dweller. I will answer.
This wildly helpful spirit is always standing by to help you enchant and upgrade armor for you and your companions. But I found the lighthouse somewhat symbolic of one of the biggest challenges this game is facing, bringing in new players while honoring the now incredibly vast lore that Dragon Age has built across the games, comic books, short stories, and more. Basically, if you were worried that the name change from Dragon Age Dreadwolf would mean less Solus, think again. His history, along with the history of the other elven gods, is baked into the lighthouse, and you learn more and more about the threat you face as you unlock Solus's murals with various wolf statues. You even get to see some of his memories firsthand.
They need gods who can protect them.
We are not gods. You will learn that.
As a lore nerd, I very much appreciated this, as well as the various other callbacks to series history. The Origins fans will likely love the Grey Warden heavy quests, and we already know the Inquisitor will be involved in some way, as you can...
I mean, I like lore as much as the next guy, but I'm more hoping for a good story instead of lore story, okay?
You can recreate them and select your world states in the character creator. But I do wonder if it'll overwhelm new players, which BioWare certainly seems to be courting with its action-heavy combat system.
I mean, this game
That's why it
definitely is
helps
not
at least to have
for.
something-
This game is not for people who like Dark Souls a lot, right? This game is not for Dark Souls fans. I mean, it could be for some of them, sure, but like people who prefer the dark and like lore heavy type of, like, I don't know what you call it, but like storytelling that is told through like item descriptions and shit. Like this is not that type of game, okay? This is not that type of franchise. I think the best way to describe it would be like a high fantasy hero's journey. It's not necessarily some sort of dark fantasy.
Of an outsider like Rook to take the helm of the Veilguard. Plus, the scrappiness of Rook reminded me a bit of playing as Hawke in Dragon Age 2, rather than the more Chosen One-esque protagonist of the Warden in Origins.
Good. I think the idea of like a chosen one. No, honestly, I think the Dragon Age Origins Warden wasn't even that much of a chosen one, because like they were just the wardens, right? It was kind of their job. I think Inquisition was the worst with this, because like they straight up had like the chosen one, because like you the Inquisitor had the one thing that could stop the rifts and whatnot, right? So it was like you were the chosen one essentially. I really don't like that. I hope that it's gonna be more of a, hey, I'm gonna choose to help you, and then maybe you have multiple options as to why you might be helping them, right? So you can kind of role play into it.
And the Inquisitor and Inquisition. In short, a lot's changed in Dragon Age the Veilguard, but there was so much I was relieved to see stay. The focus on companions and romance, the rich lore, and a gorgeous world to explore. It goes without saying that there's still a ton of the Veilguard that I haven't seen, especially if it's as big as Origins and Inquisition, and it certainly seems like it. But after finishing my preview, I found myself even more eager to dive into it, and much more hopeful that this could be the hit BioWare needs.
Okay. Not bad indeed. Honestly, that video was good. I still have some concerns, of course, but it seems like the soul of Dragon Age is still there, somewhat, right? It kind of is still doing Dragon Age things, and it seems to be continuing to do Dragon Age things. I think the only kind of downside maybe is the combat. The combat just has not improved, I think. But again, hard to say without actually getting my hands on it. I think being able to create a character this good, or better even, and the fact that you have long hairstyles that kind of work, and it kind of, I'm not gonna lie, it looks good. The hair, the flowy hair, the physics, in cutscenes even. Usually in cutscenes they don't even look that good, or they're kind of like solidified, but like it just looks good, you know? Once I saw this, I was like, okay, I'm digging it, right? The combat is mediocre. I'm not gonna lie, it looks mediocre. But everything else, I mean, I don't know. I'm hopeful. I'm actually hopeful. I think this video definitely increased my hope for this game. Increased my excitement for this game. Not by much, but it definitely did increase my excitement. I think the ability to be able to create an attractive character in the character creator is the main thing that I really like about this. Because, like, I'm not gonna lie, Inquisition, in Inquisition, it was kind of hard to make a good looking character. It really was. Like, you could do it, but like it took a while. And, you know, with no long hairstyles, it was always going to be kind of a, you know, it was always going to be a rough going. It was always going to be difficult to do. You can make your character look this good, I mean, sign me the hell up, you know? I'm excited about the character creation. The combat is still looking a little repetitive, and I think the hub area is kind of like, you know, I kind of wish they didn't do that, but again, it is what it is. I think now it just comes down to the story and the characters, and I think that's going to be about as much as I'm going to see about this game before I play it, because, yeah, like I said in the beginning, I prefer not to know everything about the game that I'm going to be playing before I play it. So, yeah, I mean, I hope you enjoyed. I guess we'll see when the game comes out, when I'm gonna play it. In any case, see ya.